created by Cable for Canadians.
Hi, welcome to Beyond Politics. I'm Catherine Clark. British Columbia NDP MP Fin Donnelly developed a passion for environmental issues at a very young age. He was also a competitive swimmer with ambitions to swim at the Olympics. And when that didn't work out, he turned that passion into a way to raise money and awareness for the causes that he believed in. He served on local city council for a number of years, and when an opportunity came up to run federally in a by-election, he took it. And he's now a member of Parliament. He joins me to talk all about life beyond politics. Fin Donnelly, welcome to Beyond Politics. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're going to start at the very beginning, and this is maybe a useless question, but out of curiosity, how did you get the name Fin? I mean, I know your parents gave it to you, but is that your full name?
It's short for Finbar.
Okay.
So yeah, I sort of swam into my name. It's been kind of funny because I've had that all my life. Being a swimmer early in childhood, you know, people always said, "How did you get the name Fin?" And you know, how appropriate is that, being a swimmer? And now in politics, I'm the fisheries critic for the New Democrats. So how perfect is Fin, for the fisheries critic as a name? But it's short for Finbar. My folks are Irish and English, so it's a Gaelic name.
Okay. And were you ever called Finbar?
Oh yeah.
You were?
Yeah, when I was growing up in elementary school, it was called Finbar. I still get called Finbar by my parents, that's for sure.
Do you?
And certain friends that know me as Finbar call me that.
Okay. What were you like as a kid?
I was pretty active. I think a normal suburban kid, that grew up doing sports, and I was interested in academics as well. But basically later in my growing up, that I got turned on by one particular teacher in grade 7 who took my energy from athletics and focused it more on academics. So I think I was a pretty normal kid growing up on the west coast of British Columbia. It was an amazing place. So I got outdoors a lot. Got to check out the ocean, the mountains, the rivers, the lakes. It was pretty neat as a kid.
Did you come from a big family?
No, it was a pretty small family. My brother and I are the two boys in our family, and then we of course have other relations, but some of which live close, others are in England and have cousins still in England and Ireland.
So how did your parents end up on the west coast of Canada?
Well, it's a bit of a story. My dad was also an athlete. He was a boxer, and when he was boxing in England, he heard about this place called Canada, and so it sort of stuck in the back of his head. And when he married, they decided, well, we're going to go over to North America, to Canada, for this, try and new way of life to increase prosperity. They were very poor, both my parents. So they came over to New York by boat, and then made their way across the nation to ended up in Canada, just because they are in British Columbia and Vancouver specifically, because they heard it was just so amazing, so beautiful, and it was through some of the athlete friends of my dad that told them about how amazing Vancouver was, that they ended up there.
Really a big difference, though. I mean, a big jump away from any kind of a support system. Did they ever talk about that when you guys were little?
Oh, definitely. And as we grew up and asked more questions, they gave us more information. But yeah, I mean, they came all the way over from England, leaving their family and their roots and their support. They had, I think, $100 to their name and all their, their worldly possessions in a trunk. It was an incredible jump that they made to come over to a new continent and a new way of life. But they really loved Canada. They loved Vancouver. They loved the area, and it was good to them as well. I mean, they were able to build 2 houses and save money and put us through university. support us in many things that we did. It was pretty amazing from what they landed here with in the 50s and what they eventually worked hard to acquire over the years.
How did that inspire you as a kid?
Well, their ethic of a real conservation ethic. Whether for them it was really about saving money and improving their lot in life in terms of their well-being. But that translated to me as I looked around and grew up in this incredible place on the west coast in the Vancouver area. I grew up in Port Moody. I was actually born in New Westminster, St. Mary's Hospital, on the banks of the Fraser River. Grew up in Port Moody, and then the last half of my life living in Coquitlam. So really, I know the riding well, but as a young person growing up, being affected by the area, that conservation ethic, which was about how to save and how to make a living and how to prosper, really transferred to me as well when I started to make a difference, making statements in the environmental area and just saying how do we preserve this amazing environment that we have in order for us to enjoy the kind of prosperity that we are enjoying currently.
When did that interest really take hold for you? Like, were you a little kid when these interests started being yours and not just your parents?
Well, my parents tell me that from a young age I was always really interested in, picking up litter and, doing things like that for the environment. I don't really recall that, but that may be how I was. But when it became a conscious decision that I wanted to protect or conserve or look after the environment as a way of helping future generations was really university. I mean, I picked up a little bit in high school, but that really wasn't my focus. But it was when I got into University of Victoria, that's when I really started to say, boy, this is an incredible place. When you look around the world, you see these issues they're not going away, they're in fact intensifying.
Right.
And I need to do something about it. We need to do something about it. So that's when I started my swims for the environment.
Okay, so let's back up to the starting swimming. Did your parents just put you in a swim program because they thought, hey, this will be a good way to burn off some of his energy and he might have fun? Or was it a decision you made? You just thought, I'd like to try swimming. How did you get into it?
No, it was definitely my parents that said, when I was, I think, 4 years old, my brother and I, they said, let's put him in lessons. We had a pool in our backyard.
Yeah.
And it was a safety,
sure.
As well as they thought, boy, we want to expose them to a whole range of sports. I played lots of different sports. I did arts. I did all sorts of things. So it was, in the beginning, it was just an exposure to different activities. But then I started to excel in swimming, and so, I got more and more into, from summer swimming, which is just 2 months of the year, into winter swimming, which is all year round. And I got more and more into swimming. By the time I was 14 years old, I was the top in my age group in Canada for distance swimming. So I really...
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, I really did well, and that's what I really started to focus on was swimming at that point.
Did you have Olympic aspirations?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You did,
Yeah, when I was in probably 8, 9, or 10 years old, I was thinking, like a lot of young swimmers and other athletes, is the penultimate is the Olympic dream, is to get into the Olympics. And I came really close. In 84, I was very close in the trials, but in 88, which was the sort of the peak of my swimming career, I was in the finals, came very close, and but didn't make the team. Did my best times. It was a great way to finish my swimming career at that point, but didn't quite make the team. But 2 years later, started swimming for the environment, which really was where that changed my life.
Okay, let's talk about that then.
Sure.
Swimming for the environment, what does that mean?
Well, I had this newfound passion. I just had completed my degree, a BA in philosophy with a minor in environmental studies.
Right.
And so I had this newfound passion. I had the skill of swimming. I was a competitive swimmer for 16 years. I completed my competitive swimming career in the late 80s, as well as having a degree. So I was saying, it was funny, I was doing environmental education at the time, a small contract, and a friend of mine said, hey Finn, you swim, don't you? And I said, sure. He said, you should swim across Georgia Strait. And it was this event that was happening in 1990 to draw mostly human-powered boats, kayakers, canoers, rowers, sailors, and that sort of thing across to draw attention to the issues threatening the health of Georgia Strait.
Right.
And he said, "Why don't you swim?" And I thought, well, that's crazy. But eventually, a week or two later, I thought, I've always, since high school, I've always wanted to do that.
How long a swim is it?
Well, that's a full day. It took me, when I did it, 8.5 hours.
Full swimming?
Full-on swimming.
How did you train for that?
I just had a background as a distance swimmer. I was doing some of the longest meters in Canada, the hardest training in Canada during the mid-'80s. We modeled it off a Russian world record holder that was doing 120,000 meters a week.
Put that in context for me, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Like how long is 100?
Well, it's like 10 to 20 kilometers a day. So it's 10 kilometers a workout. So, some people don't run 10 kilometers a workout. I was swimming 10 kilometers a workout.
Oh my gosh.
So 20K a day. So doing that every day, and then a big practice on Saturday. So I did that for 4 or 5 years.
Practice?
Well, 3 hours. Do a 2-hour workout, do 10K. Maybe we do 12, 13K on Saturday.
See, that sounds to me like torture.
Yeah.
How did you not see that as torture?
Well, for us athletes, we look at it as preparation.
Okay.
So that got me ready for the big swims that I was about to do. And I'd never swam in the ocean before, across Georgia Strait. It's totally different.
Okay.
You're in an uncontrolled environment.
Right.
In pools, it's very controlled. The temperature is controlled. The water.
You can see, too.
You see the bottom. You can see everything. You know what you're doing. In the ocean, you can't see the bottom. The waves are huge. It's cold. The wind is a factor. So there's all sorts of environmental conditions that make it difficult and challenging.
What were you wearing?
I would. That first swim in 1990 was a Farmer John wetsuit, which is not a swimming wetsuit. It ended up being a drag because it opened up and let water through, and ended up slowing me down and cooling me off. The whole purpose of a wetsuit is to trap a layer of water between the neoprene and your body, and your body heats up the water and acts as insulation. Well, that wasn't happening. So for 8.5 hours, I was swimming along across Georgia Strait with water streaming through the wetsuit. But I managed to make it. I spent the night in hospital when I landed.
Why?
Just as a precaution to make sure that I wasn't hypothermic or going to suffer any long-term effects. And they wanted to monitor me. I was okay, but it was a big deal. And so as a precaution, I spent the night in Seashell hospital, but I was fine, and in fact came back in the next 3 summers in a row and swam across again.
In a different wetsuit? In
a better wetsuit. Yeah, eventually I got the unofficial world record, and I say unofficial because wearing a flotation device or a wetsuit is considered not what long-distance swimmers would use. Normally it's
even in an ocean?
Even in an ocean or the English Channel crossing, anything like that, it's you can only wear a swimsuit, not a wetsuit. Did
you worry about anything coming to join you on your swim?
Well, we had one of the swims that had a whale, an orca whale, surface probably 200 meters away. So it was pretty incredible. But yeah, your mind, if I wasn't doing a focused swim, I would probably wonder what's under there. Is there anything going to come up and that sort of thing. But because I'm so focused doing these things, doing these swims, that's where my mind stays, is very focused on what I'm doing during the swim. And that's what allows me to get across.
And what are you focusing on? Because you've got to be in pain or cold or just exhausted or hungry or thirsty.
Right. I've heard there's for elite athletes, they think about two types of things. One is either they're very present, they're focused on exactly what you just said, whether they're cold or their muscles are hurting or they're tired or hungry or whatever. And the other type tries to think about whether, if you're cold, a nice warm place, a nice spot where they'd rather be, to really distract themselves from what's really happening. I'm actually one of those that's very, very present. So I think about how I'm feeling, how tired I am.
Drag you down?
Well, for me, it keeps me very in tune with how I am, what I've got to do. So, for instance, if you get tired, it's time to pick it up. You know, get what's called a second wind in running or biking. Well, in swimming, I had the same thing. So I'd get a second wind, I'd go for it, for the next 15 minutes or half an hour, see if I could push it for an hour, and then I get tired again. Then I go get a third wind and a fourth, and you do little things like that to just keep yourself going on, trying to get halfway to lunch, and then you have a little break, and then after lunch, it's like, well, I'm gaining, look at how much distance I've put from where I started. Now I'm that much closer to the end. So very goal-oriented, very focused on the goal, very focused on how I'm feeling, and that sort of thing.
Did it make a difference? Did you feel that it made a difference for the cause?
Definitely. I mean, for that particular, when I started the ocean swims, I raised over $50,000 and drew a lot of attention, because you can imagine the media and the press were very focused on this guy that decides to swim across when most people are rowing or sailing or kayaking. So I often get a microphone put in front of me saying, why are you doing this? And I got to talk about why it was so important that people really need to focus on the impact they're having on the environment, and that we can all be part of the solution of making changes.
Do you still swim?
I do when I get a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really hard now being a member of Parliament with the schedule that I keep, but I try to exercise regularly and try and get in as much as I can to keep healthy. And
what made you make the jump between swimming and environmental causes and running for office? Well,
it's a bit of a story, but the first was swimming the Fraser River in 1995, and that really... when I did that event, that 1,400-kilometer swim, 3 weeks down BC's longest river, the Fraser, and cold, boy, talk about cold. It was after that swim that people started to say, boy, we need someone like you to run for office, an elected official to represent those views that aren't being heard. And it took...
And just because you can survive in really harsh climates.
There you go, exactly. And I said, well, I appreciated the interest, but the timing wasn't right. So mid-90s was not, I was just starting a nonprofit organization, and that's where my attention was. So it took me 7 years to 2002 when I first decided, okay, I'm going to enter politics. And I ran for Coquitlam City Council, and I got elected. And then for the next 7 years, I stayed at the local level, getting re-elected, and actually in 2005 and 2008 topping the polls. So people appreciated the perspective that I brought to local government. And then last year in 2009, there was an opportunity to run federally in a by-election, and I decided to make the leap. And then I was able to take something that I'm very passionate about, and that is having a healthy environment, because I think it's really linked to a healthy economy and creating healthy communities. So for me, they go together, and public policy is critical to have good public policy that reflects protecting those values, all three of those values. You can't have, in my opinion, one in isolation. You need all three. You need a healthy environment to have a healthy economy. A healthy economy creates healthy communities. So without one, you can't get what I've been working for, which is sustainable communities, or now a sustainable Canada.
And what is the difference that you found between your work locally and now your work as a member of Parliament?
Well, I was very accessible as a local politician. I'm a phone call away. You're in the local paper often. There's people in the community that know what you're doing, because the media tends to cover the council meetings. Now, coming as a member of Parliament, although I've been still, I think, quite successful at because of some of the campaigns and the work that I've been doing to get in the media, you're further away from the electorate, the individual. So it's really that much harder to get your message out to individuals in the community, and I find that really important to stay in touch with the people that basically put me here. So I really try and do that, but that is a lot more difficult as a federal politician, given that I'm halfway across the country for 4 out of 5 days a week.
Tell me about your commute schedule. When do you leave? When do you come back?
Generally, I've got into a pattern of flying Sunday afternoon, arriving, so just around, I'm back into my place here in Ottawa about 1 in the morning, and then I'm up Monday to Thursday in either meetings or at the house in session. And then on Thursday, generally, I can get away Thursday night back to BC. So that way I have at least a day in the riding in the office. And then, of course, there's evening events, Saturday and Sunday. I'm usually doing community events. And then I'm back, flying back to Ottawa again Sunday. So it is a full-on. I look at it as 4 days in Ottawa, 3 days in the riding.
That's 7 days of working.
7 days a week.
You have, you're married.
Yes.
How do you and your wife achieve the balance or do you have any balance? Any sense of balance at all?
I do. I have a very supportive wife, and I could not have done this without her. And that is critical for anyone that wants to get into, become an elected official. That is so critical to have your wife, your family supportive. And when I was when I first made the decision to go into local politics, it was really because of her and her support that I was able to do it. Now, local politics, you're right there. You come home every day. You're there. You're able to spend time. And however, I was in meetings. I was at events. I was away a lot of the time. So my wife Linda got to know the kind of a schedule of an elected official. So that prepared, although nothing can really prepare until you do it, the leap to federal politics.
So she had some
definitely.
sense of an idea of what was going to happen.
She had a sense, and there was still an adjustment.
Yeah.
She had to make the adjustment of me actually being away.
Right.
I'm on the phone to her, but, on the phone
You're not physically there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and, suddenly she's got 4 nights out of a week where there's a great freedom, I'm sure, to that, because she could start doing things that are of personal interest to her, knowing that you're not there.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, you're not there.
That's right, and she does miss me, and she just has our little dog that that has to keep her company. And luckily, that's nice. She's looking after her mother, which is we live in an apartment building, so we're in the same apartment complex.
Right.
So it's nice that she can be there. And her kids, my stepkids, have grown, and they're in other parts of BC.
Okay.
It's really an adjustment for me not being there. But I'm, as I say, I phone often, and we email each other and keep in touch, and we really make the most of those moments that we have together. It's really become really important that we say, on a Thursday night when I get home, that we spend a couple of hours together, and it becomes that much more critical.
Right.
That time that we have together becomes precious.
Does she come here?
She has been here, and I'm trying to get her here a little more often.
Yeah.
She hasn't been here as often as I'm hoping, but now that my schedule is more of getting into a routine since the fall, like having a couple of months in the summer at home, which was really nice.
That's great.
So it's I think once we get more into the fall session, she can visit for come over with a week or so.
Yeah.
And it's nice having the week riding break so that we can get into the riding, do the good work that needs to be done in the communities, but also to visit, so I can see Linda.
Sure. Do you have hobbies outside of your political work when you're here in Ottawa?
I just have so little time to do anything else, but I do like to get out. I'm wanting to get to some of the galleries. I've visited some of the galleries here, the art galleries, and I want to check out the symphony and do things, but I have all these great plans, and it's just finding the time to do that, because I also like to read, and so I can
and
find
probably
myself.
Reading is much more relaxing after a long day.
It is.
Going home to your own place and reading is more relaxing than, making the effort to get up and get out and do something else here.
Yeah, you definitely have to schedule it, because it's, I find that, there's no shortage of either receptions, events, meetings, or even work reading. You know, there's no end to the amount of work that you can get yourself involved with. It's finding time for yourself, though, to actually relax a little bit. That's tricky. And I've been warned by a number of members, and from all parties, to make sure that you spend some time for yourself, that you don't get burnt out, because it's way too easy to just dive in and go, and then by the end of a year or two, you find out you're just, your health is down, you're just not being productive, and so you really need to make sure you keep that in check.
What kind of books do you read?
I have to say,
indiscriminate reader?
Well, no, I'm pretty focused on on the environment and on community.
Yeah.
So
so even your reading isn't really a break.
No, I know, but I love it. I enjoy reading and finding out more about what are the issues, what are the concerns, which way are we going, and how there has been progress made. On the environment, but there's also so many more issues that need to be dealt with. So, and it's finding out how to approach those issues. I mean, there's ways that are effective, and there's ways of relating to people that are more effective than others. So, finding out about techniques and how you can relate to people, I think, is really critical.
What's the best part about being a member of Parliament?
Well, it's really an honor. It's a privilege to be in a small group. 308 members of Parliament that represent all areas of Canada, and I'm a part of that decision-making process in that body. It's pretty incredible. I mean, you're in the House of Commons, incredible history, just the architecture, the building itself is amazing, and what's gone on within those walls, in the halls of the House of Commons, since Canada became a nation. It's amazing to be now a part of that, deciding and participating in public policy that affects the nation. To know that I'm a part of that process, it's pretty awe-inspiring.
Yeah, I bet it is. Do you have any regrets about having made this leap?
No, not at all. I'm really, you can ask me that if I get reelected in a few years, but so far so good. I'm really enjoying it. I actually thought I would be at the local level, my entire political career, however long that was going to be. I had no, intentions of getting in politics in the first place, but found myself getting involved at the local level, and so now at the federal level, being almost a year now, I am really enjoying being at this level, contributing in this way, adding to the debate and the dialogue, the discussion, and hopefully shaping public policy in a positive way.
Well, I really do appreciate that you would take the time to be here today, and I wish you the best of luck as you continue in this it's a pretty new job, so wish you the very best.
Thanks very much.